Breaking tonight, House Republicans introducing articles of impeachment against Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge has late-breaking details. Catherine.
Shannon, two Republican lawmakers released the articles of impeachment tonight, calling out the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein and alleging that he has a conflict of interest. These heavily redacted documents released over the weekend show Rosenstein signed at least the last surveillance warrant renewal in June 2017 for Trump campaign aide Carter Page. It reads in part, quote, his conduct in authorizing the FISA surveillance at issue in the joint congressional investigation makes him a fact witness. Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein's failure to recuse himself in light of this inherent conflict of interest and failure to recommend the appointment of a second special counsel constitute dereliction of duty. A short time ago, the congressman explained the escalation on Fox News.
Not only have subpoenas been ignored, but information has been hidden. The efforts have been stonewalled. And I guess for us, it's all about transparency.
We're tired of the Justice Department giving us the finger and not giving us the information we're entitled to do our constitutional duty.
Senior Justice Department and FBI officials met with Republicans from the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees for 2 hours earlier today. After the meeting, Congressman Meadows said there was agreement that FBI agent Peter Strzok avoided too many questions during his public testimony earlier this month, and that Strzok can't answer this line of questioning from Congressman Jim Jordan about the opposition research firm behind the dossier Fusion GPS and its co-founder Glenn Simpson.
This is the frustration that every single member of this committee feels is when Agent Strzok won't answer, well, more importantly, the American people feel when Agent Strzok won't answer fundamental questions like the guy he references in an email, Corn and Simpson, and won't tell me who they are. This is unbelievable.
Sir, it is as frustrating to me as it is to you.
The closed-door depositions from Strzok and FBI lawyer Lisa Page identified records previously unknown to lawmakers about at least one file documenting the FBI's efforts to verify the Trump dossier. Those records will now be provided, and the issue is timing. Did the FBI try to verify the allegations before the dossier was used as evidence in the surveillance warrant application? Heading into the meeting, Justice Department officials indicated to Fox News that they believe they have complied with the majority of congressional subpoenas on the articles of impeachment tonight. There was no immediate response, Shannon.
All right, Catherine Herridge, thank you very much. Will the resolution to impeach Rosenstein be considered tomorrow before the House breaks for August recess? Let's talk to Republican Congressman from Florida, Ron DeSantis, who sits on the House Oversight Committee. Good to have you with us tonight.
Good to be here.
Okay, so let's talk about this, because unless it comes up as a, quote, privileged resolution tomorrow, it's going to go away for weeks while you guys go home and do other things that you have to do with constituents and other things. Is this a PR stunt, as some critics are saying?
No, I don't think it is. I think it's, look, we've been doing this round and round for months and months and months. And I've been saying for months and months, if you want to change their behavior, you have to impose a sanction on them. Now, I think the easiest thing would have been to hold Rosenstein in contempt of Congress and also hold potentially people in the FBI, because when Peter Strzok is avoiding all those questions, he's doing it at the direction of people in the FBI. And these were some basic questions that the American people have the right to do. So you do need to have a sanction. And I think the reason why Mark and Jim filed that is because although it was not filed as a privilege, it could be at some point in the future. So I think they're laying down a marker, letting justice know that Congress means business, and then hopefully be able to do something short of that to get what we want. It'd be much easier for everyone to just get the documents, but at some point Congress has to stand up for itself. We've not done a good job. Some of us have wanted to be aggressive, but the institution as a whole has been very weak, not just with this, but all the way back to the IRS scandal when we tried to hold John Koskinen accountable and didn't have enough votes to do it.
Well, you know, the DOJ has repeatedly said in recent months and weeks that they have been more forthcoming than ever in the past, in history, that they have gone beyond, quote, guardrails in the past with respect to what information they could give you. Here's the Deputy Attorney General a few weeks ago talking about this idea that he could potentially be impeached.
I can tell you, there have been people who have been making threats privately and publicly against me for quite some time. And I think they should understand by now the Department of Justice is not going to be extorted.
So they say they're turning over information, great volumes of it. Is it quantity or quality of what you think you're missing?
Then why haven't they turned over the information about how Crossfire Hurricane started, the Trump-Russia collusion case that was opened by Peter Strzok, who said that they were going to stop Trump and that you needed an insurance policy? Very simple to do that. Why haven't they given us answers about whether the FBI or Obama Justice Department did anything to induce any type of surveillance or spying on Trump's campaign prior to July 31st, 2016? Those are very simple questions. They either did something or they didn't, and yet they will not do that. So I think what they're masters of is producing a lot of documents that really aren't what we're looking for, and it's kind of like a Chewbacca defense. Hey, look over here, we're giving you this. Well, that's not what we want. What we want is actually very easy to produce, and they just continue to refuse to produce it. And then talk about guardrails. Peter Strzok went over guardrails when he said that he was going to stop Trump from being president. These guys went over guardrails and how they conducted the investigation, and the American people need the truth about all this.
It seems like from what we've heard from some of your fellow members who were part of the questioning of Lisa Page, and you were part of that as well, that she gave them a lot more guidance and information that kind of cleared some things up, pointed you guys in another direction. Was it a fruitful exercise with her?
So there's now inquiry about additional facts involving the dossier and how that dossier ended up in the FISA application, which it did. It was really the critical component, because yes, there are redactions, but I mean, that was kind of front and center is what they rolled out
we can tell.
as the reason why. I mean, if there was stronger evidence, you would have led with the stronger evidence. So that dossier was there. And so I think that there's going to be follow-up from there. But then also I think Peter Strzok's going to be brought back in. I mean, Lisa Page was very honest about the meaning of those text messages. I mean, Strzok acted like, the meaning of is wasn't is, and he was giving these outlandish explanations that just weren't credible. And even the Inspector General said this guy wasn't credible with how he's doing it. So that could be an interesting contrast as well.
Well, we'll stay tuned to hear more potentially from both of them, potentially in a public setting as well. And as we await, let us know how you do over recess. A lot to get done here in Washington, but I know folks back at home want to bend your ear as well. So, Congressman, thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Yep.
All right, a gruesome attack in California. An illegal immigrant allegedly attacks his wife with a chainsaw. And that alleged attacker had been arrested and deported, we are told, 11 times. Trace has the story. And a surprise ruling on gun rights by the liberal Ninth Circuit Court. Details coming up in our Western Roundup. U.S.-based airlines trying a creative solution to satisfy Beijing's demand they stop identifying Taiwan as a country separate from the Chinese mainland. United, Delta, and American have now stopped identifying Taipei as being inside Taiwan, but they're also not saying it's part of China, like other global carriers. Still, Republican Senator Tom Cotton says the Chinese Communist Party's obsession with Taiwan is pathetic and, quote, it's disappointing that American Airlines, Delta, and United complied with this ultimatum. Well, in California, the media is worrying that a gruesome chainsaw attack could become a flashpoint in the immigration debate. Can that explain why you may not have heard about this story? Well, Trace Gallagher has new details tonight. Good evening, Trace.
Good evening, Shannon. When it comes to the debate about sanctuary cities and California's immigration policies, this might be the highest profile case since the death of Kate Steinle a few years ago. The latest attack happened in Whittier, about 20 miles from downtown Los Angeles. 32-year-old Alejandro Alvarez is accused of attacking and badly wounding his wife with a chainsaw, spraying her blood all over himself and his 3 young boys. Aside from the gruesome violence, what makes this case notable is that since 2005, Alvarez had been deported 11 times. And his criminal record goes well beyond deportation, including convictions for drunk driving and drug possession. Immigration advocates fear this type of sensational case could be used as fodder to boost the president's immigration policies and to increase the criticism of California for sheltering illegal immigrants, including criminal aliens. They say Alvarez is no more representative of illegal immigrants than the Las Vegas shooter is representative of white men. But groups that oppose illegal immigration say we have plenty of homegrown criminals without foreign nationals joining in. Whether more illegal immigration leads to higher crime has been widely studied, hotly debated, and largely inconclusive. Yet Americans believe it to be true. A 2017 Gallup poll showed that nearly half of those polled think immigration does lead to higher crime, which is why building a wall along the southern border continues to gain momentum across the country. country. On top of that, new numbers from Judicial Watch show that in just the past several weeks, hundreds of illegal immigrants have been arrested for violent crimes, from a brutal rape by a Lyft driver in Northern California to human smuggling and child endangerment in New Mexico and Texas. And finally, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, has just filed a detainer against an illegal immigrant in Florida accused of shooting and killing a police officer. And to make matters worse, over the past 10 years, the Haitian immigrant had been arrested numerous times, but local police never notified federal authorities. Shannon.
Trace Gallagher live for us in Los Angeles. Thank you. It's hot as blazes in California. That story tops tonight's Western Roundup. Portions of Yosemite National Park forced to close for the first time in 30 years as wildfires wreak havoc across the region. More than 3,400 firefighters are working to contain the blaze. One firefighter has already been killed near Yosemite. 7 others have been injured. Montana governor and potential 2020 Democratic presidential candidate Steve Bullock claims a new IRS policy is basically a swipe at social welfare groups and unions. They often run political ads using information from the IRS to target political enemies. Now the IRS is making that a bit more difficult by not requiring many tax-exempt groups to disclose the identities of their major donors. Bullock says the IRS is allowing donors to cover their tracks ahead of the, quote, most momentous midterms in a generation. Well, a big victory for gun rights coming from an unexpected place. The typically left-leaning Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruling the Second Amendment does guarantee the right to openly carry a gun in public for self-defense purposes. The decision found Hawaii overstepped its bounds in its efforts to regulate firearms possession outside the home. And while we've yet to learn the identity of Tuesday's $543 million Mega Millions jackpot, we do know the winning ticket was sold in San Jose, California. The retailer, Ernie's Liquors in San Jose, got a $1 million bonus for selling the ticket. The winner now has 1 year to claim his or her winnings. Well, major issues California politicians are trying to tackle include immigration, homelessness, poverty, crime, and plastic straws. That's right. San Francisco is the latest California city banning passing legislation to ban plastic drinking straws and utensils. Our panel's here to discuss the pros and cons. Leslie Marshall and Larry O'Connor get their say when we return.